For Troopers 2, but
There's a number 2.
you haven't seen part 2? Oh,
I haven't seen
hello.
part 1.
You haven't seen part 1? Oh,
No.
jeez. Oh, okay, we'll fix that. I think you like part 2, though. How is everybody today? Hello.
Hey everyone, welcome to a special edition of CineMarks with Paul London. Everyone's favourite host here, James. Hi, D-Throne.
I have to remember I'm playing this.
But no, thanks everyone.
I'm too much
Paul,
skin here.
9 episodes in, we've hit 1,000 subs.
Pretty cool. Yeah. Big thank you to everybody who is subscribed. Thank you so much. That's pretty cool. We weren't sure how this is all going to work. James is more confident than I am in terms of how this is all
Really?
going to work.
I don't know, man. You wrestle in front of your underwear for like 20 years. I think you're pretty confident.
That's a different type of confidence. I just meant, for being so long-winded, a lot of times I get tired of hearing myself talk, and I can only imagine other people are the same way. It's like, oh my god, shut up, quit eating. You're so unprofessional. You're disgusting. I'm just gonna keep eating more. Okay, I'm not. I already ate. I ate before I came on. Just for all you people bitching and complaining about me eating.
I'm going to heaven.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to hell. I could have told you that a long time ago. Are you drinking anything?
No, we are at 1,000 subs. By tonight, we'll be down to about 985 or something.
Because of us talking about
just
people complaining, or what?
Ew, gross. I'm subscribed to this channel.
I'm not eating anything. I already ate. I ate 2 hard-boiled eggs before I came on. And I have my water, my ice water, and I have this lovely Bang Energy.
Bang Energy?
Whole lot of colada. What the fuck is the thing? Right there, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to cut down on energy drinks. Like the ones, like I used to like Monster quite a lot, but I'm trying to cut down big time on my energy drinks.
That's the devil's energy drink.
Well,
the Monster logo is 666.
Yeah, it's the Arabic for 6.
Apparently.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen that video. I know the one you're talking about, and it's pretty funny. And then it's like the Beast or something, right? I think it's Monster Beast.
Funny enough, I know you're not a big video game player. Have you ever heard of the Devil May Cry games?
Never heard of it.
No, great games. Anyway, there's 2 different timelines. The main series, basically, there was this demon knight called Sparda. He's like the main knight for hell. Anyway, comes up to Earth, ends up marrying a human woman, and they have like twin sons, and these twin sons are like half human, half demon. And the one son Virgil becomes a bad guy, and the one son Dante becomes the hero. Great game. Well, anyway, they've done a reboot. Wasn't as good, but it was fun for what it is. And one of the big demons you fight is actually located at this like energy drink company. So you go down to like the layer and you go to fight it, and you realize like all the energy drink the people's been drinking, it's like the sweat and piss from this like demon, this grotesque big massive demon.
Original. I mean, yeah, that's neat. So the energy drink is made from the sweat and the
demon, yeah. So
well,
you never know.
Pretty good.
But no, thanks everyone. Me and Paul's been talking about some ideas as well regarding the channel. We'll get the announcements out the way now, I guess. So one of the things we spoke about is do it like instead of we might still do like reviews on specific movies, but we will. But what we're thinking of doing as well is like let's talk. So for example, let's talk Jack Nicholson. And we'll end up talking about like our favorite Jack Nicholson movies and stuff. Superman's pretty topical at the minute, so we could be like, let's talk Superman. So we'll be talking about all our favorite Superman movies. Well, what's this? Chinatown.
Can't go wrong, man. Talk about best Jack Nicholson film right there.
Really?
Not seen Chinatown?
No, I've seen it. It's good. I like
Get out of
one
here.
flew. I like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
I agree. Five Easy Pieces. That's another one of my absolute favorites. Sorry. So go on. You were said you
Oh,
said
sorry,
Jack Nicholson. And I'm
sorry.
like, at me.
Oh no. So yeah. So we could be doing like themed episodes. So instead of like say, let's talk Friday the 13th. So instead of going film by film, we could just talk about all the films in like a vacuum. But we're working on it. We're trying to work on some guests as well, which will be coming soon. So we've got some big plans coming for the channel. So
What
yeah,
James
all
is
good.
really trying to say is that this channel is a work in progress. It is not a finished product by any means, nor will it possibly ever be a finished product. It's something that, along with all you viewers and subscribers who we're so thankful, thank you again, 1,000 in roughly 10 or less videos.
9.
That's pretty cool. That's exciting. We're very thankful for all that. And so, with this channel, uh, it's a constant, it's a progression, right? And it's a collaboration. And so if, there's things that y'all want to see as well, please send those on in the comments. And we read all the comments, even the bad ones we respond to, and then they mysteriously get deleted by the original people somehow, which is kind of funny. And we'll be doing a lot more eating on camera for those of you that think it's disgusting. No, I'm kidding, but who knows? Maybe we'll
I
do
don't know, man. It was
maybe
my
we'll
kid's
do,
birthday. It was my kid's birthday today. There's a big slice of birthday cake staring right at me.
oh, wait, whose birthday is this weekend?
Oh no, my youngest. It was his birthday today, so he's just
Oh,
turned 6.
terrific. It's his birthday today?
Yeah, I've now got 2 6-year-olds and they're not twins.
Oh, wow. My mom's birthday is today.
Oh, happy birthday!
Yeah, thank you. And happy birthday to your youngin'. Um, we will try to cut back on the eating. It's more so me, not
I need to
James.
cut back on the eating.
Shut up. But when you talk, you like to have a beverage or two or four to wet the whistle. So thank you all of you for subscribing. Please spread the word. Again, in the comments, leave movies you're curious about what we think about it. Possibly you want us to discuss ideas. I will be doing my best to start getting to some filming locations soon, so that we can kind of see the updated status of some of these filming locations from some of these movies that we certainly enjoy, and hopefully you always do as well. And yeah, we're in the midst of lining up some pretty cool interviews, and yeah, stay tuned. So good stuff on the way. But overall, this episode that we're doing right now is as a big thank you to all of you,
Oh yeah,
1,000
yeah,
plus subscribers. Very cool. We
and
couldn't do
and everyone, if you can, yeah, start posting some questions below. We'll get to them. Before we get to that, Paul, the big thing in Hollywood is the writer's strike, and I don't know if you've heard the latest news about it. That the studios and that their plan is basically to starve these writers out till they realize we've got no more money. We have to go back to work.
Yeah, I saw they were looking to get some help from the government to combat this strike as well. So I see the strike every time I drive by the studios, um, and they're out there picketing, and I honk to show my support. And I mean, what are these projects without the writers, the wonderful writers to create these? And believe me, since this writer's strike, a lot of these auditions that I've been going on they're not very good. Like, the material's not very good. So please, like, we need these writers, these good writers to come back and bless us with their talents, because uh, it's a lot harder to bring to life bad material. It's
Yeah,
possible, but it's more of a challenge. It's a lot more of a challenge. So
I mean,
please,
I've said to you, like, I'm trying to write like my concept for like an Elm Street sequel, and I'm like, man, I can't even like write like 2 minutes of a script. Never mind like 2 hours.
Sure you can. Sure you can. There are different ways to go about it, but I believe that you can. But yeah, it's not. It's a coveted talent. It's a skill. It's a profession, and it needs to be respected and compensated as such. So, you know, um, power to the people, nation of domination.
Been subscribed for months, but never watched an episode until a few weeks ago. Happy and congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerardo Almanza.
Oh,
Very
speaking of
cool.
Jim Cornette picture, have you seen his back and forth with Possum Leg on Twitter?
How did I know that was going to come up? Yeah, I saw that. It's funny.
We should have saved this for cafe, really, but carry on.
Well, it's just funny, it's like there are certain anthills you don't want to step on, and you would think people would know not to try to verbally joust with Jim Cornette, because he will roast you in his southern old school kind of way, and it's always very entertaining. But if I'm not mistaken, um, the Backyarder, he was the one that brought him up, and just out of nowhere, right? It wasn't like he
It
responded.
wasn't even Cornette to begin with. It was
That's what I'm
Cornette's
saying. That's what I'm
co-host.
saying.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm saying, like, it was this. The initial tweet was like something to kiss the asses of the coworkers in hopes that he'll stay employed because he contributes nothing. And he unfortunately has all these mouths to feed now. And so he was doing everything he could for some job security, and just out of left field brought in Cornette's name into the fold. So that was the first kind of blow, and then obviously there was the retaliation, which just snowballed, and he continued to make himself look worse and worse, and just kind of expose himself. So I think anytime it gets to a point where someone is bragging about their living status or their money.
Oh, yeah, and the paycheck, that automatically means, yeah, you've lost this argument.
Yeah. So it was, it was entertaining for what I did read. But my advice to aspiring wrestlers and current wrestlers is just don't get into big arguments on Twitter. It goes nowhere. It goes nowhere.
No.
You want to have an argument with somebody, do it face to face. See how that works out. Do it face to face.
There's these two guys, and like one of them, he tried to be my friend. I was giving him advice, but then he like basically backstabbed me. And after that, I was like, yeah, I just can't be asked for you. And he's came like messaged me no end of times to apologize. I'm like, I just don't like you, so we'll just leave it at that. But anyway, right. He had this one friend that used to do a podcast together. Now they just hate each other, but they're always going back and forth like on Twitter, and they both live in the UK. One's from England, the other one's 200 miles above him in Scotland. So I don't know, say like 4 hour drive. And I'm like, these are grown men with families. Like, if you want to sort it out, just meet up somewhere and have a fisticuffs. But they're like,
have the good old fisticuffs. I agree. Have the good old fisticuffs. Rex Gardner, we hope you improve we hope your car issues get resolved. Sorry, pal. Hopefully you're safe, and things get fixed there. So stop the tomato, Matthew's hilarious. Jared, weird. I'm sorry.
Favorite Dennis Hopper movie?
Oh man, that's tough. Wow, is that in the comments? I haven't seen that yet.
Yes, above. I'll be honest, like, is it his greatest film? I don't think so, but is it one of my favorite movies? Yes, Speed. I love Speed.
Oh, he's great in Speed. He's great. Yeah. let's see here. Sorry, I'm just trying to get through, make sure I didn't miss anything in some of these comments. Dennis Hopper is one of my favorite actors of all time. I've visited his grave in Rancho de Taos. It's like just outside of Taos in New Mexico, and because he lived in Taos for quite a bit. Huge art collector. He lived in the Dodge Llewellyn house, which, you know, they had all these crazy parties and there were girls everywhere, and all his friends would come, and it was just these big kind of coke acid parties and stuff. And this is like, you know, post success of Easy Rider, and from the success of Easy Rider, which, you know, funny enough, had its own bouts with controversy because, you know, there was some disputes about who took credit for writing it, and then there was like the whole thing with like Rip Torn. Rip Torn was originally cast or in line or in talks to play the lawyer role that went to Jack Nicholson, which eventually, I'm circling back to Jack Nicholson, that eventually gave Jack Nicholson this, you know, pretty star-making turn. Really put him on, like, really put him on the map, right? Because I think he was doing a lot of work for AIP with Corman, Roger Corman, if I'm not mistaken. He had done a movie or two with Boris Karloff, but, you know, he was still on the rise. But anyway, so there was this big dispute with Rip Torn where they went to dinner to discuss the role, and Dennis Hopper said that he replaced him with Jack Nicholson because he claims that Rip Torn pulled a knife on him at the dinner. And it wasn't until decades later that Rip Torn ended up actually winning this court like defamation case, and it turned out that it was Dennis Hopper that pulled the knife on Rip Torn. And Rip Torn won, and Dennis Hopper had to pay, like, I can't remember what it was, but he lost that defamation case. So he was a madman, and it was Peter Fonda, I believe, right? Peter Fonda, yeah. So they had a dispute over who wrote, and maybe Robert Towne, I believe, might have had a say in who wrote this, because I think he had helped contribute some of it. But there was a big dispute there. But needless to say, off the success of Easy Rider, and it's interesting because at his grave in Rancho de Taos, you wouldn't. It's not a glamorous cemetery by any means. That's where his funeral was held, at the really historic church. It's like a Pueblo type church there. I'm trying to remember the name of the church exactly, but it took me some research to find the cemetery, and it's kind of like behind some double wides, like a little cul-de-sac of double wides, and you kind of take this dirt road behind them, and then there's just this dusty, rocky cemetery, and then you see, you know, and it's pretty small, and then you see this big pile of rocks, and there's all these Confederate flags and all these motorcycles and all this stuff pointing towards Easy Rider, but that's where he's buried there. And but basically, off of the success of Easy Rider, the studio was like, carte blanche, you can do whatever you want. I'm trying to remember exactly which studio it was, if it was Paramount or Universal. I'm thinking it was Universal. I could be wrong. Foggy mind. But anyways, they said, hey, you know, like, you can make whatever you want. And so he ended up saying, I have this idea for this film. It'll be like my magnum opus. And it was this film that took place in Peru, and they shot it in Peru, near the Andes Mountains. Yeah. And this was Chris Christopherson's film debut, and I think he has music on the soundtrack. He basically flew a lot of his buddies in and it's the premise is that a film production is filming a Western in Peru, and all the natives, the Peruvian natives there, don't understand what they're seeing. They're seeing this film being made, and they don't understand what they're seeing. And Dennis Hopper plays the main lead of this movie within the movie. He's like a cowboy, and within the movie, he ends up kind of getting um, kind of crucified, like Jesus in a way. And so the natives are all witnessing this filming of this story taking place, and the production ends, and I believe Dennis Hopper's character stays behind, and the rest of the production leaves. Well, the natives end up making a camera, and like they basically end up mimicking what they saw the filmmakers doing, and they end up making their own camera out of like sticks, and they make everything that the film had out of like sticks and rocks and just natural things. And they get Dennis Hopper's character, this actor, and they're gonna crucify him. They're basically gonna, like, it's like a copycat kind of thing. It's crazy. It's a really bizarre movie. It's the title's The Last Movie. That's what it's called, The Last Movie.
Isn't that the movie that the original cut's like 30 hours long or something
40.
stupid?
Yeah.
40.
So
yeah,
he bought this small cinema house, which I believe is still in operation right there in Rancho de Taos. Now, Rancho de Taos it's a hop, skip, and a jump from the pueblo of Taos. So it's right there. It's kind of, it's like just a little suburb kind of thing, right? You can't really say suburb, but anyways. So he bought this cinema house. I'm trying to remember what the name of the theater was. And he would edit this huge project of his, The Last Movie. He would edit it at the cinema during the week, and then he would show cartoons for the children for free all weekend. And so then when he turned in his cut to the studio, his cut was 40 hours long. And they were all kind of looking like, you'd think these suits, and they're like, is he fucking joking? 40 hours? Like, are you out of your fucking mind? Like, yes, he was out of his fucking mind, because they were all just doing like blow and like just like, I mean, the most pure Peruvian cocaine you can imagine. While they were shooting this movie, which went like well over budget, whatever I can't remember what the original budget was. But yeah, so he turned in this 40-hour long cut, and he was like, here's my movie, show this in the cinemas, right? And they were like, yeah, you're out of your fucking mind, pal. What we said about carte blanche? No. And I've seen The Last Movie. Mind you, I saw the version that was like 2 hours.
Yeah,
about 2 hours. You can find it. I loved it. Visually, it's great. I think it's a very fascinating movie. It's a real time capsule for that time period. But then, news started to kind of come out about his drug habit and how much alcohol he was consuming, and like he was a madman, and eventually got himself blacklisted for a while from Hollywood. And funny enough, one of the films that was one of the first things to kind of give him a chance again was Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Yep. And
he's great in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And if you haven't seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, I highly recommend it. It's the same director as the original.
It's different to number one.
Completely different. It's a black comedy. Toby Hooper.
The poster is essentially a mock of the Breakfast Club, isn't it?
Of the Breakfast Club. It's the exact. Yeah, it's the exact thing. It's like one of the big jokes is that it's like a pose for pose mock-up of the Breakfast Club, and it was done by Canon Films, our lovely heroes at Canon Films, who put out so many countless movies that we love to make fun of. And their idea was like, wow, we capitalize on Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the success and everything. and he didn't want to do a sequel. But they signed him to a 3-picture deal, which I believe was Life Force, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and Invaders from Mars. He did those 3 for Canon, if I'm not mistaken. And Life Force, if you haven't seen Life Force, is a wild vampires in space movie that has some zany effects and practical effects, but definitely worth a watch. As is Invaders from Mars, which I'm also a huge fan of. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was that Karen Black? I believe. I could be wrong. I think I'm wrong on that one. But that's a really fun kind of throwback to these sci-fi alien invasion films from the 50s and early 60s. But yeah, Invaders from Mars, that was one that I always really loved. And there's this, have you seen Invaders from Mars?
I haven't. I think someone actually posted that question on Twitter. By the way, since we started streaming, we've got another 13 or 14 subscribers. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you all so much. I recommend Invaders from Mars, though, if you haven't seen it. It's a lot of it's practical effects, and it's a fun science fiction movie that gets crapped on for whatever reason. I don't know, but it's a lot of fun. And there's an effect that they do towards the end of the film, without spoiling it. Roughly, they end up calling in the military to come help fight against this alien invasion, and there's an effect that they do with this giant sand pit where the sand underneath these soldiers starts swirling and it sucks them down into the sand. And it's the way, I have no idea how they did this. I mean, it's practical for the most, from what I can tell. It's not,
50s, yeah.
No, well, this isn't from the 50s. These are all from the 80s. But it's an homage to like those science fiction invasion films from the 50s. But this is like probably late 80s. But yeah, I could go on and on about Cannon and Tobe Hooper and whatnot. But going back to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, that's the one that really kind of gave Dennis Hopper I think he was sober when he had sobered up by the time he did Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And he has some awesome scenes in this movie. One in particular when he's testing out chainsaws, because he plays like an old sheriff. I think his name's like Lefty. I can't remember what his last name is, but essentially his niece and nephew were characters from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Right. Franklin in the wheelchair, and the Marilyn Burns character that their uncle, and he's coming to figure out what happened to his relatives. But yeah, that scene where, have you seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2?
I've seen bits of it. I've seen the first one countless times. I've seen 3. Ken Foree's in number 3, isn't he?
He is.
And it's Matthew McConaughey. No, is it Viggo? Which one's Viggo Mortensen in? Is he
Part 3? Yeah, he's in 3. Leather. That was acquired by New Line Cinema, so that's why it's called Leatherface and not Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3.
Because Matthew McConaughey, he's in essentially Part 4, New Generation. Is that right?
McConaughey did Part 4, which is Next Generation.
And is that with like
Renee Zellweger?
Yeah, and is it like the fucking Deborah's in it, ain't she?
I'm sorry?
Deborah, who was married to Stone Cold Steve Austin, she's in it. She plays
Deborah has a
Michael, whatever her name is,
at the top at the drive-through. It's kind of funny. But yeah, that was done by Ken Henkel, who was one of the original producers on Texas Chainsaw and Part 2. And that in itself has a great kind of piece of behind the scenes about how all that came about. It's not the greatest Texas Chainsaw Massacre film, but I would put it over Especially I would definitely put it over the recent stuff, done by Netflix. Any of the stuff shot in Bulgaria, even though the one, I think it was called Leatherface with Steven Dorff, it was supposed to be kind of like a prequel. Um, that was okay. I don't remember it that well. I think I only saw it once or twice. Here's the thing: if you're making a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, it should be shot in Texas,
You would think,
and
wouldn't you?
hopefully there's a new studio being built just south of Austin, I believe in CineMarks, which is where I went to college, and one of the schools I went to college. I bounced around a little, so hopefully that's going to help. And I think the incentives are improving to help bring a lot more productions back to Texas. But moving forward, it's like, please, like, can we just shoot Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies in Texas? That's the way it should be. We don't. I don't want to see a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film shot in Louisiana or in Bulgaria. There's, I don't know. There's something weird about that to me. So sorry,
Uh,
I'm just going on a rant. I
well,
love my.
we'll do a Chainsaw Massacre film one day.
Yeah,
Tassel's,
I won't
thanks for
get it
joining.
away. See Texas Chainsaw Massacre too if you can, and
Well,
especially the
you're a
testing of the
Texas boy,
chainsaw.
so I get it. You're a
Oh,
Texas boy. Tassels, thanks for joining us, and thank you so much. Yeah,
you
everyone,
got
and if you can hit the like button, that will help us try and grow this channel. Jose, yeah, I've seen a few of your questions. I'll bring this one up. Favorite Will
Jose.
Smith movie?
Did you say Jose?
Jose or Jose?
Jose. I was about to say. Better not say Josie.
I'm
Jose.
sorry. Will Smith movies. Oh man, I've gone off Will Smith so much, but we'll try and forget about his recent transgressions against poor Chris Rock.
Right. What's your favorite Will Smith movie?
I mean, I still love Bad Boys,
Yeah.
and number two was all right as well. Actually, number
How
three
many
was
are
crap.
there? Three? Is there only three of them? Is there three of them? I'm sure they're doing
Oh no,
another.
there.
Yeah, there was a recent one, right? Like a couple of years ago. Like Bad Boys
Yeah,
Forever or something, or
I think it was called Bad Boys for Life, but I think it was actually number
okay.
3, but it wasn't that good.
I love Martin.
I tell you what, I did watch recently, and it's the first I've watched it for a long time. But the original Men in Black,
Didn't
him and
like
Tommy
it.
Lee.
Yeah, I
No,
was not a fan of it.
Tommy Lee Jones is great in it though.
He's great. I wasn't that big on it.
Yeah, Bad Boys, Independence Day, I guess.
I think I've said this before, but you know that originally Independence Day, that role was offered to Ethan Hawke.
That's right, you said, yeah.
And he read it, and I guess he was reading it with his friends, and they got to the part where he's like, now that's what I call a close encounter. And he kind of like looked over at his friends like, can you believe this crap? How stupid is this line? And he
Yeah,
laughed at it. I think because of how ridiculous he thought that line was, it was part of why he passed on it. But then you see what someone, like Will Smith with his talents, and mind you, I think I prefer Ethan Hawke
yeah,
to Will Smith. But that, it's just one of those funny things where it's like, what will an actor, I believe it was Sir Laurence Olivier who said, don't ask me who I become to play the role. Ask me what the role becomes because I'm playing him, essentially. So that's a great example. Like Will Smith, that was, as far as I could tell, that was his real breakout huge role, was Independence Day.
yeah. It did take him to another level. Yeah, don't know. I love Fresh Prince, but yeah, I don't like New Will. I blame Jada.
I like Ali. I think Ali is probably my
Ali's alright.
favorite. That to me is like his Ray,
Yeah.
right?
I'm just trying to think what else, there's a million movies, but I've forgot so many. I'll tell you, funny enough, I came across it. Did you ever share the ring with Lance Storm?
No, I did a few dark matches where he was working there at the time, and he gave me lots of very valuable advice, very positive advice. He was very encouraging, but I've never, no, unfortunately, I would have loved to.
Well, he was on Twitter, and I had to disagree with him massively. He said, in my opinion, Ghostbusters is an overrated movie, and there's better comedies from the 80s.
He's talking about the original?
Yeah, so I said, your opinion belongs in the trash.
Oh, man.
How can you not like Ghostbusters? It's a perfect comedy movie.
But he's probably a fan of the newest Ghostbusters, if I had to guess.
Probably.
I
saw a scene comparison. There's a movie reviewer, Critical Drinker. He's hilarious. He's a Scotch guy. And he says, here's a scene comparison. And it shows you why the original is so great and the 2016 women's reboot was terrible. So they've never tested the, what are they called? Proton packs, what are they called?
Yeah, I think that's right. Proton packs,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah. So they've never tested them. So there's that scene when they're going up the elevator and like Ray and Egon's like, we've never actually tried this equipment out. Well, turn me on. So there's Ray at the front, Egon is behind him, and like Peter Venkman's like at the side of him, and they turn up his backpack and they go vroom. But as it's like warming up, they're trying to like get away from it in case it explodes. And that tells you how powerful this thing is. Compare it to the remake. I only ever watched it once, and I regret doing that. The fucking fat one, Melissa McCarthy, she's turned that on, and she's fucking spraying it, and she's flying over the place, wow, screaming like that. I'm like, talk about there's no fucking subtle comedy in this movie. It's
I didn't bother.
Movie.
I'm seeing a comment from Jose. Apparently Tupac was lined up to be the role in Independence Day. I've never heard that. No. It's not to say anything that I've said previously wasn't factual, but I was unaware if that is the case that Tupac was lined up to do the movie. I'm trying to think of where Tupac would have been in his career to get offered that before Will Smith, who's, I think at that time was considered more of an actor than Tupac was. But then I saw also in the comments what's my favorite Tupac movie. Gonna have to go with Above the Rim. Obviously, having played basketball as a kid,
I've never seen one.
Never seen Above the Rim?
I've never seen a Tupac movie.
What?
Well, maybe some movies. It might have been in the background or something, but I've never seen a Tupac. He wasn't that big over in the UK. Okay, I'm sorry to break it to you.
No, I'm not surprised. Let's see here. We're asked Jim Carrey movie. How about a favorite Jim Carrey movie? And I have not seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I've had countless people try to get me to see that film, and I haven't seen it yet. I'll try to rent it next chance I get when I'm at the library, because that's where I get most of my movies. At the library. I'm old school.
Jim Carrey's he's a comedy actor. He's an underrated actor because he can actually act.
Yeah.
But him for I love all his movies. I love The Mask. The Mask is great.
Have you ever seen Once Bitten? That was the first film I ever saw Jim Carrey, and I didn't realize it because he wasn't a big star, but there was Once Bitten.
Funny enough, that's popped up on me Netflix, on me Amazon stream. It was made in like 85 or something. Is that right?
Yeah.
So he's like a teenager in it, basically.
85. Yeah, check it out.
I'll check it out. My favorite, I love Truman Show. Truman Show is a great movie.
I'd have to watch that one back. It didn't hit me initially. Kind of like, that one didn't. And I think I was working at the movie theater when that one came out. Visually, I enjoyed it, but I don't think it resonated with me. And I don't. Might have just, I don't know. Maybe where I was in my time in life. I don't know.
You can't go wrong with Ace Ventura. Man in the Moon. No, Ace Ventura. I said. I just don't think you can go wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. They made only 2 of those, right? Or did they make a weird third one?
they made one without his involvement, at like Ace Ventura Jr. or something like
Oh,
that.
Junior Pet Detective or something.
They also done the sequel to the Mask, Son of the Mask, with like Jamie Kennedy.
Yeah, Jamie Kennedy. I didn't see that one either. Mask
It
was
wasn't
another
good.
one that I was like, yeah, I didn't mind it, but it wasn't like, oh my god, it's so funny. I need to see it.
What was the dance? I'm Cuban Pete. There were the
I don't
maracas.
remember. Oh, I remember the Maraca thing.
Hello, I'm Cuban Pete. I'm the waiter on the street.
And Cameron Diaz.
Oh, she's smoking in that film.
That was considered another like notch up the ladder to super mega star status for him was well, because wasn't that after Ace Ventura?
I think so, because he had the 1 year. No, let me get this right now. He had the 1 year because he was off. Right, let me think now. Now, because he was offered money for one film, and he asked for more, but they wouldn't give it to him. So then Ace Ventura came out. I think Ace Ventura was like his first big one.
Okay.
And overnight success. So the company, I think it was for Dumb and Dumber. I might be wrong, or it was for The Mask. It was one of them.
Iconic in its own right. It's so good. Dumb and Dumber.
And like, oh yeah, I mean, sequel wasn't that great.
No. Or the prequel.
No, it wasn't. But the original was great. But yeah, it went back and forth. You had this 1 year. I don't know if it's like 95. Ace Ventura, The Mask, and like Dumb and Dumber.
I actually loved Cable
Guy is awesome. Yeah. It's underrated.
So very underrated. Yeah, I agree.
He has a good turn in the. I don't know if you've ever seen the Sonic the Hedgehog movies.
I haven't seen it yet. No, I'd like to. That has James Marsden in it too.
Yeah, he's in it. But like Jim Carrey plays Dr. Robotnik, Dr. Eggman, and he's pretty funny in it. To be honest, he's hilarious in it.
Who plays him?
Jim Carrey plays Dr. Eggman.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I was like, wait a minute. I thought that was Jim Carrey. Okay, I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah.
Did you see Kick-Ass?
Kick-Ass 2 he's in.
He's in 2, right? Yeah.
Was it Captain Freedom or something like that?
Yeah, I thought he was great. I mean, I loved Nick Cage in the original. I love Kick-Ass. Yeah. I love both Kick-Ass films. I think they're awesome. But there was something also where he like denounced the film afterwards because of the violence or something, and it was like weird, right? He was like, he didn't promote it.
I'll tell you a fun film. It gets shitted on, but I enjoyed it because I fucking love like magic and magicians. I love it. But the Fabulous Burt Wonderstone. So Steve Carell plays the lead, and his magician partner is Steve Buscemi.
Okay.
So they're like your Sixth Freedom Roy. You know what I mean? Like the big hair, the flamboyant outfits, the big stage.
Yeah, the big musicians.
James Gandolfini's in it. I think it might actually be one of his last movies. He's like this Las Vegas, casino owner. Anyway, so they've got this style. So anyway, they start hearing about this new what do you call it? Street performer. So do you remember when you had like your David Blaine back in the day?
Yeah.
Well, it's Jim Carrey's character. I think he's called Steve Gray or something like that. But he calls himself a brain rapist.
What?
And that's his character. That's like his nickname because he.
So Jim Carrey's like the competing magician.
Yeah, there's like the street level magician.
The brain rapist.
And there's the one at the end, so that they're having like a magic off. Whoever does
it,
yeah. So he says, but he does all like stunts. So anyway, it comes to it. I'm spoiling the movie, but you'll have to watch it. I'm gonna get this drill and drill it through my head. So the drill bit's like that long. For anyone else, this would permanently brain damage any use. But I'm of a different breed. So it goes, and it goes so much in. He automatically goes cross-eyed. It's a hilarious film. Burt Wonderstone, you have to check it out. It's funny. Yeah,
no, I know what you're talking about. I never saw it. I'd like to. I like everyone involved. Yeah, I think he's a great. he's such a great physical actor as well. I mean, you look at
Yeah.
I see one of the comments
Grinch.
about the Grinch, yeah. And I mean, did you hear about? I mean, apparently the studio hired uh, an advisor from the CIA, right, to come in to work with him and coach him on basically like his anxiety from being in this suit with all the prosthetics and all this stuff. It was like giving him this anxiety and like this rage. And they hired like an advisor from the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, right? To come and like work with him on like how they coach their agents through similar situations. Because apparently he was just an absolute menace during the making of that film. And so, and then I saw another comment about number 23, which I did not see, but I've always been really intrigued to see it because I'm with you. I think the great comedic actors are sadly they don't get the opportunities a lot of times to do dramatic or work, you know, more serious work like in horror films and things of that nature. But they're usually phenomenal at it. They're usually, you know, really great at it. You know, I think off the top of my head of like Robin Williams in a 1 hour photo.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think it's great. It's great to see a breath of fresh air from an actor who's known to be kind of just this comedic juggernaut, and then to see them in something very different.
Adam Sandler's been doing more serious roles lately.
I loved
And
Spanglish. A lot of people didn't like Spanglish. I thought that was then what is it? Uncut Gems or something? I think is that.
Uncut Gems. I watched one recently. I forgot the name of it, but he's like
It was
a
great.
basketball scout.
Oh, it was great. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. And he's like working. He's like he's a scout.
Yeah,
And he finds this kid who's a real NBA player. I'm trying to think if he's still in the league. Yeah, I thought that was phenomenal. I thought that was really, really good as well. I didn't mind Funny People. I thought that was pretty good. I liked that for the most part. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see number 23. Even though I didn't hear like great things about it, but that's, you know, I try not to read too much into reviews and critics and thing. You know, I certainly if there's I stay away from spoilers, but you know, who's to say if you're going to dig a film or not until you actually see it? You know, you can, you know, I just recently saw a film that people were eviscerating in a lot of comments, and I loved it. I thought it was visually spectacular and phenomenal. I really enjoyed this film. It was fresh. And for those of you wondering, it was called Pearl.
Oh, you told me last night, yeah.
Yeah, it was really
That's with the new Superman, isn't it?
Yes. What's his
David Corenswet, something like that?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, David Corenswet. And he was great. I thought all the performances were really, really standout. And essentially, this is a prequel to the film X. These are done by like Ty West, and they shot these in New Zealand, which I didn't know. But definitely recommend it to those of you who like horror. It's kind of graphic in a lot of ways, but the performances were just great. I mean, they were really amazing. There's literally like roughly like a 10 to 12-minute monologue from the main actress, Mia Goth, at the end. And it's just utterly captivating. I mean, monologues tend to usually go about a minute to 2 minutes. Something extreme would be like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But this one's at the 10+ minute mark, and you feel like you're in the room listening to this character spill their guts, and it's yeah, I was really blown away by this film. A lot of the things that I had heard and read in the critiques were not accurate.
No.
They led you to believe that this was a film that showed a bunch of nudity and there was like graphic. It was like there's no nudity in this film at all, except for in the Corn Sweat. He plays the projectionist who's showing this young girl who has these dreams of being this starlet, kind of like an early pornographic movie that he smuggled over from France. And he's the projectionist in this small town, and he's kind of taking a slight liking to her, and so he's showing her this movie, and this takes place in like 1918, and
Right.
only in that little bit where he's showing this French movie, which in the context of the story would have been like one of the first kind of pornographic films, but that's really the only kind of nudity you see, and it's just like a butt of in some silent film or something, and like that's it. Enough about that. I highly recommend it for those of you who haven't seen it.
Thank you, Medicine Man's World. Hope everyone's having a good night. We are up to now. James and Paul, thoughts on Beetlejuice 2? They are constructing a set. Yeah, I've actually seen some of the set videos today and set photos.
Was it Jenna Ortega, I think, like riding a bicycle or something?
That's the one. Yeah, exactly. She
Yeah.
plays flipping mine's one blank.
So is it a Lydia?
Lydia, I think she plays her daughter.
Okay, so it's like a continuation. It's not like a reimagining.
It's a true number 2. So it'd be interesting which people's coming. Well, Michael Keaton's back, thankfully.
Tim Burton.
There was rumors Johnny Depp's going to be in it, but I don't know if he will be.
Would we get like an Alec Baldwin? Would we get like a Gina Davis?
I don't think we'll be getting Lydia's dad in it. Yeah, I mean, actor, don't you?
I think they might be done with it now, but they did finish. They did end up finishing Rust. They moved that production to Montana, and as far as I can tell, I think they finished it.
Like just a rough cast here. So William Dafoe's in it, so that'd be interesting.
William Dafoe's amazing.
Oh yeah.
I can tell you, probably won't be in it. I can almost guarantee. There's what's his name? Is it Jeremy? It's something JJ. It's basically the principal in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah, that's who I was talking about because he played Lydia's dad.
Oh, that was Lydia's dad. Yeah. Oh, you're right. Yeah. That thinking the
was she the stepmother?
Yeah.
Well, she's back. Saying Monica Bellucci's playing Beetlejuice's wife. Justin Theroux's in it. And William Dafoe. So if Tim Burton's involved, that's a good sign, thankfully. I love the original Beetlejuice.
And obviously Michael Keaton is returning as Beetlejuice, right?
Okay. Yeah. So we're in good end. I think we'll be all right.
We'll see. To me, that's one of those films that doesn't need a sequel.
Doesn't.
But is that speaking on the current state of the cinema, where the studios feel the need to latch onto a proven property in hopes of driving numbers up, which everything's pretty much goes to streaming now anyways. But you see these like Top Gun Maverick, for example, which I have yet to see, but I've heard nothing but great things about it, and how that really helped get people back into the cinema, which I think we need films like that, to get people to go into the theater experience. There's all these other factors that obviously keep people away from the cinema, cost, safety, la di da. But that is something that should never go away. Going to the movie house, going to the cinema to see a picture, like that's something that is a magical experience. It really
It,
is.
it is. The problem is, Sinister. I feel like Sinister movies on the cinema, it's on the streaming service within a month.
Now, did you see when you saw Mario Brothers? Was that at the cinema? It was, right?
Yeah. I had to.
Was it
We had
packed?
to. It was busy, yeah.
Nice.
But that's the last
Now,
film I've seen in the cinema.
do you have like cinema houses that offer second run movies for a discounted price, or that's something that
No,
pretty popular in the States? It still exists, but not as common. You don't have anything
no,
like that?
no. I mean, sometimes they'll make a big thing like, "Oh, such and such a movie is gonna be screening on cinema for the first time in like." I think they've done it with Star Wars recently, like the original Star Wars,
Okay.
because it's like an anniversary since it came out. But yeah, no, they don't really do that. You, but yeah, like I feel like, I mean, I love superheroes, I do, but I am so done with superhero movies for the time being because Marvel's doing nothing but putting out shit lately. I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
Deadpool 3 because Wolverine's going to be in it,
Yeah, I saw that
but
with the outfit. That's pretty
I'm look
cool.
I'm looking forward to that. But the last Marvel movie I actually enjoyed was probably Spider-Man across the No Way Home, the movie one. Um,
Mhm.
and DC, I keep saying it, DC. How do they keep fucking these things up? Like, how do you fuck up Batman, Superman? That should have been a license to print money, and they fucked it up.
Sure. Um, yeah, I mean, I will say in regards to DC, something I am pretty excited about is James Mangold apparently is behind the new Swamp Thing
Oh god,
film. That series from 2019, if y'all haven't seen it, amazing. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was as perfect of a series with respect to the comics as you can. I believe is the Alan Moore storyline. Um, but yeah, that if you get your hands on the 2019 Swamp Thing television series with Derek Mears as Swamp Thing, um, it's it's really good. I mean, that's probably one of the last series I've watched straight through. So
I I've been watching Titans on Netflix.
okay, is
Uh,
that the younger superheroes?
yeah, it's like Robin's Nightwing now, so he looks after the team. It's not bad. They had the one guy play Lex Luthor in it, but only for one episode. He's one of them actors. He's been in, I forgot his name, but he's been in like loads of different films, like small roles and things. But he played Lex Luthor, and I'm like, well, he's actually a decent Lex Luthor, especially when you compare him to Jason Eisenberg turn as Luthor in Batman Superman. I think he was playing the
Yeah.
Riddler, but he didn't realize it.
Who?
Fucking the guy who played Elon Musk in, not Elon Musk, fucking Facebook guy. Zuckerberg.
Uh,
Zuckerberg. He played Zuckerberg
was
in this
that
social network. What else has he been in? Zombieland.
Zombieland? Oh, are you
Yeah,
talking about? Wasn't that Jesse
Jessica.
Eisenberg?
Yeah, he played Lex Luthor in Batman v Superman.
Right? Do you think so? He's supposed to be a Riddler or something, or
No,
what?
no. I think that he should have been playing the Riddler because he wasn't.
Oh, I get
I
what you're
think in
saying.
his, I think in his head he was playing the Riddler, but someone
I
forgot to
agree.
tell
I
him
did not.
that he
I
was
was
playing
not a
Lex
fan.
Luthor.
I was not a fan of him as Lex Luthor. Um,
It was terrible.
yeah, no, give me what's his name from Smallville any day.
Oh,
Um,
Michael Rosenberg.
Yeah, Michael
Rosenbaum.
Rosenbaum, whose birthday I think
Oh,
was
okay.
like yesterday. So happy late birthday to Michael Rosenbaum.
I'll tell you what I came
So
across today. Speaking of
I'm
Lex
going to.
Luthor, I was
Well,
there's two versions of Superman 2, isn't there? There's the
yeah.
theatrical, yeah, there's the theatrical cut, and there's the Richard Donner cut. Because Richard Donner who done the original Superman, he done like 80% of Superman 2, but then they took him off the movie and they brought the other guy in.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Well, anyway, there's the one scene. So they're in the Daily Planet, and Lex Luthor's in the office with Sod and like his henchmen, and Sod's like, "What? Superman's just got his powers back, but they don't know that." So Sod turns to Lex Luthor. It's like Gene Hackman's playing Lex Luthor, and he's like, "You've outlived your usefulness." And Luthor's like, wait," and then all of a sudden Superman comes to the window, and what do you call it? Lois Lane's like, "Superman." Lex Luthor's like, "Oh, Superman, thank God." And Sod turns to him, he's like, get him."
Wait, what?
What? You get it?
I didn't. Sorry, I was spacing out for a moment reading some of these comments, but you're talking about not the Richard Donner cut. You're talking about the
No,
other director.
theatrical cut.
That would have been the Richard Donner cut, right? Or no?
No.
Okay, who was this other director? That was.
I forgot his name, but he done number 3 as well.
Oh wow, because I really liked part 3 personally.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people crap on it, but come on, it's not Quest for Peace here. We're talking about canon films as well.
I'll give it the one scene where he's fighting himself in a junkyard.
Oh my God,
I
that
do like
is
that one.
so good. Not just in the junkyard, but when he's at the bar, flicking the peanuts and like breaking the glasses, and he's like, "Get away from me! What are you looking at?" Like he's just like, oh man, what a great performance by Christopher Reeve in Superman 3, and all those Superman films.
Still the best Superman.
What's the scene you were talking about in part 2? I apologize.
No, so they're in the Daily Planet office. It's called the Daily Planet, isn't it, Superman?
Yeah.
And Lex Luthor's with General Zod and his henchmen. So
was that Terrence Stamp, right?
Yeah, great actor.
Hey.
So General Zod turns to Lex Luthor, "You've outlived your usefulness." So basically, they go and kill him. But all of a sudden, they look outside, and there's Superman outside the window. And Lois Lane goes, "Oh, it's Superman." And then Lex Luthor, obviously Gene Hackman, turns, and he goes, "Oh, Superman, thank God." And then General Zod looks at him in disappointment, and Lex Luthor goes, "Go get him."
Oh God. So wait, that
Yeah.
was in the theatrical cut? I'm trying to think if.
I think it's in both.
Okay, I was about to say, I was like, some of that sounds somewhat familiar. I'm less familiar with Superman 2. I should be. I loved it. The scene that always stands out to me is the kid at Niagara Falls, because my brothers and I would always kind of mimic that when we were near a railing of sort. We're like, "Hey, look, mommy!" Ah! Yeah, but and I mean, well, I just love. To me, it's like Superman 1, 2, and 3, right? Those to me, it's like I put that as a trilogy. Quest for Peace, done by Canon Films. I don't know if you know the story behind the reason or how that was made. I don't know if I remember if I told you or not. I've actually mentioned this on YouTube in response to a clip from this movie that I'm about to talk about or mention. But Christopher Reeve had this passion project for a film about a reporter journalist who is struggling to have a hit story, and his career is kind of on the line. And so he fabricates a story about a street pimp, and turns out there's a real life street pimp who's very violent and dangerous, who it's brought to his attention. This story ends up getting a lot of views and looks and like a lot of press because it's well done, but he basically kind of made it up. This pimp ends up basically saying like, this motherfucker's been following me, like he's been trailing me, like, and Christopher Reeve gets kind of pulled into like this dark underworld of pimps and hookers, and and I think it was shot in Montreal, even though it takes place in like New York City, but it's called Street Smart, and it was the first Oscar nomination for Morgan Freeman, who plays the pimp Fastback, and it's outstanding. I think it's so overlooked, but it's absolutely outstanding. And Miles Davis is his music is throughout the score is Miles. It's Robert Irving the third, but like it has Miles Davis heavily featured throughout the entire score. And that was put out by Canon, funny enough. And so like the deal was, he couldn't get anyone to, all these studios were passing on Street Smart. Nobody wanted to finance it. But Canon was like, we finance your movie. But you need to do Superman 4, Quest for Peace. Like he didn't want, he was like, fuck. So that's why if you see Superman 4, I believe Mark Pillow played Nuclear Man. Maybe his only role, I'm not really sure. I haven't looked at his IMDb, maybe ever. But I should. I mean, he had a look to him, right? He looked like an American Gladiator, early '80s kind of pro wrestler. But yeah, Superman 4: Quest for Peace is quite silly, and the Canon, notorious for being cheap, it shows in this movie. It shows. But if you're wondering why did they make Superman 4: Quest for Peace, it's because that was the deal that Christopher Reeve made with Canon Films. Hey, finance my passion project, Street Smart. I'll do Superman 4, and that's how it came to be. So,
yeah, it's
we love Canon here. We love Menachem Golan and Joran Globus. We love them.
Well, Canon done Masters Universe, didn't they?
Absolutely.
They done
with another canceled director.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Gary Goddard.
RoboCop, didn't they, Canon?
No, that was Orion.
Orion. I always get them mixed up.
They had a similar kind of metallic logo. Yeah. Actually, Orion had like the stars, and then it would turn into like the O. Yes. And it'd be like Orion, but it had a very futuristic kind of font to it. And so Canon takes credit for kind of bringing ninjas to the forefront in terms of cinema. Obviously, the big one for them was the American Ninja series. Canon also did a lot of early Van Damme movies. I believe they were the first people. Actually, it was Canon when Jean-Claude Van Damme was originally the Predator, and they were down in Mexico shooting the Predator. And if a lot of people don't know this, Jean-Claude Van Damme originally was the Predator in the Arnold Schwarzenegger mega hit, The Predator.
That's right.
Or just Predator. I'm sorry. Please don't confuse it with The Predator, because that is an embarrassing entry into the franchise much later on. But the look of the Predator costume, it looked like an evil Pokemon character. Like it looked like a rejected Pokemon character. It was like orange, and it looked like a weird kind of bug kind of thing. And they kept telling him, like, that's not how it's going to look. Like, this is just like, we're going to put the effects kind of over it in the camera and blah, 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 blah. But it was very bizarre. And if I'm not mistaken, he was doing a lot of sparring partner training with Chuck Norris at the time. So he was doing everything that he could to kind of get his name out there. He happened to get into kind of the right circles and was known as like a phenomenal martial artist. and got pulled into Predator as the Predator, but they wanted him to do all these kicks and like all the stuff that he can do while he's like on stilts, because they had like these lifters that he would wear that he was on. So he's like in stilts in a very constricting, silly kind of outfit. That was another issue that he apparently had, was that people weren't going to see his face, so they weren't going to know that it was him, even though he would be in the fucking credits. And he's in Mexico near Puerto Vallarta, which is where they shot this thing, in the jungles there, 100+ degrees, bugs and all this stuff. So as the story goes, according to Jean-Claude, while he was in production, he had used the leverage of being on this Schwarzenegger film to get a meeting with Canon, who ended up offering him a 3-picture deal. And I believe Kickboxer, Lionheart, maybe not Lionheart, Kickboxer. I don't think, maybe, but I think Bloodsport
was before Kickboxer, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah, Bloodsport was before all the, but actually before that, we have No Retreat, No Surrender. We both know that. Come on, hey, look at the first video on here. But needless to say, he got a 3-picture deal from Canon, which was like $30,000 for each picture, and Double Impact might have been one of those.
Yeah, I think it was Kickboxer, Lionheart, and Double Impact.
I believe so. Yeah,
I think they're the 3 films. I know 2 of them are the ones he worked with Sheldon Lettich.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was them.
So his thing was, well, if I get hurt down in the jungle doing Predator, my 3-picture deal is going to go up in smoke. So according to Jean-Claude, he, anytime James McTiernan, who directed Predator as well as Die Hard, is it James McTiernan? Why am I know it's McTiernan. I feel like I'm missing the first name. Either which way, he would like yell action, and Jean-Claude would just like fall over. What's wrong? I lost my balance. Like, I can't move. Action. He would just fall over. So according to Jean-Claude, he got himself fired on purpose. And then obviously that role was filled by Kevin Peter Hall, who was, I think, close to 7 feet. Rest in peace, Kevin Peter Hall.
He has a cameo at the end of the movie as well. He's in the helicopter when they get away.
Yeah. And he's also the Bigfoot in Harry and the Hendersons. If anyone's ever seen Harry and the Hendersons, he's in the Bigfoot suit. So it's kind of funny because there's a scene in Harry and the Hendersons where the Bigfoot gets really kind of angry and enraged, and it's kind of the same body language as the Predator when he gets angry and enraged. He's like, ah, and like does this like hand spread thing. He's like, ah, and it's like it's basically kind of similar, but just one's this alien predator and the other one's Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen Harry and the Hendersons, I highly recommend it. It's great. John Lithgow's.
Yeah, I haven't watched that for a long time.
I haven't either. I hope it holds up. I would think it does, but
yeah.
But either which way, I don't know how we kind of spun off on Jean-Claude in Predator, but either way, that's what happened.
Well, I forgot what we was originally talking about.
I know. Talking about Canon, and then
it was like Superman, wasn't it? We started from Lex Luthor and we ended up with Predator.
Yeah, we ended up going from Superman to Predator via Canon film. Yeah, exactly. So let's see. I'm just kind of going through some of the comments here. There's apparently some drama going on in the chats here.
They're talking about which movie's got the best blowjob scene. I'm like, okay.
What the fuck? Yeah, Time Cop is great. Time Cop apparently, I think, is the highest grossing Jean-Claude Van Damme film to date.
Well, as a Van Damme movie, yeah, it did get surpassed by Expendables 2, but depends if you want to count it as a Van Damme movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't look at. Yeah, I wouldn't count Expendables 2
Yeah.
because he's not the main lead, right?
He's the main bad guy. He's
Yeah,
actually
he's
quite
not
good.
but he's not carrying the picture on himself,
No,
right?
he's not
Whereas
Stallone in it.
with Time Cop, obviously you had like Mia Sarah, you had
She's in Ferris
Bruce,
Bueller
uh,
Day Off, ain't she?
I'm sorry.
She's the girlfriend in Ferris Bueller, isn't she?
Yes, and she's also the princess love interest of Tom Cruise in Legend.
Ah, she is. Yes, yes.
Yeah, she was great. I don't know what happened, what became of Mia Sarah, but she was always um, easy on the eyes in these films. She was always really an endearing character. Um, so I loved Legend. That was a movie that I grew up watching and absolutely loving.
Yeah, I put
So,
that on for my kids. It was around about Christmas time. I think they watched it for the first time.
do you know who played? I want to say it's Meg Mucklebones, the witch that comes out of the swamp. Do you know who was in that?
I thought you was going to say Darkness because that's Tim Curry.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's one of the most iconic
Yeah,
costumes and
which
performances imaginable. And you have that great soundtrack by Tangerine Dream. There's an amazing song by Brian Ferry. Um, is 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 your love strong enough? I think that's the name. Is your love strong enough? Amazing song. That's not. I think it's the end credit song in Legend. But anyways, going back, Meg Mucklebone. I think that's the name of the witch, the swamp witch that comes out. It's very terrifying.
yeah, I
Um,
know what you mean. Yeah,
and she's like got her gross finger on his shield, and she's like, "I'm gonna eat you, my boy!" She's like, it cuts her head off. Um,
terrifying movie.
yeah. Okay. So did you see Gremlins 2? You did,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So do you remember the assistant to Mr.
The red,
Clamp?
the redhead,
I'm sorry.
the redhead.
No. I'm sorry. I'll just say it's a guy.
Oh, I thought you meant the chick.
No.
I know who you mean. I know the guy
Yeah,
you mean.
the guy
Yeah,
at the very end of Gremlins 2 who gets like
yeah.
kind of like propositioned by the female gremlin, and then he's kind of like, oh, and then he's like,
The transsexual.
yeah, kind of changes his mind. Yeah, Robert Picardo.
Yeah,
That's who's in. That's who's the Swamp Witch, Meg
oh right.
Mucklebone. Yeah, and Legend. Um, Pretty phenomenal. So I'm impressed beyond words of just not just Tim Curry, but like that performance as well. And then you also have um, Billy Barty as one of the. I'm trying to remember what his name was, but he was one of the dwarves who assists Jack, which is
Yeah,
Tom
which
Cruise's character, and Billy
they get the
Barty.
they get the shield at the end with the light that
Yeah,
pierces.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, Billy Barty. You would have also seen him as kind of the village main elder wizard in Willow. But you can't mention Billy Barty without talking about, in my estimation, his best role, my favorite role that he ever did, as Gwildor in Master of the Universe.
Oh
So
yeah.
absolutely. My good friend, one of my best friends in life, Chris. He runs Bulletproof Action. If you want to get your action cinema satisfied, if you really want to like delve into um, action cinema, I highly recommend you check out Bulletproof Action, that website, and their social media pages as well. But he many years ago he gifted me a Gwildor action figure, and
Wow.
that's one of the most coveted possessions. He's actually
Yeah.
also responsible for this beauty.
Oh
He
well.
gifted me that one for my birthday back in April, but that's the Super Friends Scarecrow. which I think is amazing. That's my favorite version of the Scarecrow that there is, and
Yeah,
it's creepy.
I like Scarecrow. He's a
Yeah,
great villain.
one of my favorite characters. Uh, I think Cillian Murphy was great as Scarecrow.
Well, yeah, he auditioned to play Batman, and it was
Oh,
like
that's
we just
right.
don't. Yeah, he auditioned to play for Batman, done well, but
They
Christian
approached,
Bale was
they approached a
sorry.
few people for that, didn't they? I think they went. They approached James Franco. I think they approached Josh
Uh,
Hartnett.
Jake
Um,
Gyllenhaal, I think, was a choice.
I might be,
Um,
or Josh Hartnett. I think was for Superman.
that's right. Yeah, because they was going to do one in the Josh Allen was going to be Superman. I forgot who was going to be Batman. Um, but
One thing
Christopher Nolan's.
might have been a approach for one of the other or both. Can't quite remember.
I think Hartnett was definitely Superman. I forgot who was the other, but I know Christian Bale was always Christopher Nolan's first choice for Batman, Bruce Wayne.
Okay.
Um, funny enough, I was coming across some videos the other day. I don't know if I mentioned to you, like the Batman movies that didn't get made, and so after Batman and Robin, that nearly killed the franchise. Well, had Batman and Robin been a success, which it wasn't, part 5 was going to be called Batman Unchained, and your boy the Scarecrow was going to get played by flipping Nicolas Cage, which would have been great
Wow.
casting. Yeah,
I
I can
love that.
see it.
Oh, I
And
love.
he was going to be Nicolas Cage, and Harlequin was going to be in it. But Harlequin would be Joker's daughter in it. And what they would do, Nicolas Cage would give Bruce Wayne, the Batman, the fear gas, and basically Batman would be like on trial, and you'll come face to face with the villains from the previous movie. So Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, Danny DeVito's Penguin, and then like the ace in the hole, he would actually come face to face with Jack Nicholson's Joker.
Oh,
Um, that was the plan, but unfortunately, Batman and Robin failed big time.
brutal. Brutal.
There's been a few concepts, like script ideas, what was going to get made, and there was one. They was going to do like a Young Justice League. I think this was like possibly mid 2000s, and you had the cannibal guy was going to be Batman. The actor, what's he called now? He looked like he was going to be a big actor, but then we found out he likes eating people. Fucking,
Oh, Army Hammer.
that's the one. Yeah, he was going to be Batman, I think.
He was Lone Ranger.
Yeah, and but there was like this cast, but that didn't go ahead. But during this time, they was trying to make Superman movies as well, and yeah, it wasn't how it should be. But
I'm looking at
we
the
got
comments, and I agree with Phantasm. It would have been amazing to see Nicolas Cage's Superman, even though it's strange with that long hair. But that suit is badass, I think. I won't put any spoilers out there because I have yet to see the film, but yeah, there is a current movie out there that if you want to see the Nicolas Cage version of Superman, that's all I'm going to say. Uh, so I'm just kind of going through the comments real quick. Yes, Rex Gardner, if you're not familiar, please look up Army Hammer and why you don't really see him in movies or talked about much anymore.
I'll tell you a good film he was in as well. He was in it with Henry Cavill, the Man from U.N.C.L.E.
I heard about that. I didn't see it. Yeah, I didn't see it.
The film was a remake of like the TV show, and Arnie Hammer plays the Russian spy, and Henry Cavill plays the American. I forgot who played the female, but Hugh Grant was like the ringleader. It's actually a really good film, but for some reason, well, I don't know if it's because what happened with Arnie Hammer, but yeah, it's actually a good film. It's a good spy film because I love spy films set in like the 60s and things like that. So I enjoyed it. I grew up watching
No, I
James
would
Bond.
love to. Yeah, I need to check it out. I mean, there's quite a lot. I'm so behind on so many of my films. Let's see. I'm looking at. Are you going to see Barbie or Oppenheimer? I really want to see Oppenheimer a lot. Like that looks great.
If I get a chance, because like all three's come out at the same time. You've got Barbie, you got Mission Impossible, and you got Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I
Before
missed
kind of
out
came
on
up.
an audition for Oppenheimer, which I'm really bummed about.
What, you auditioned for it?
It was like very minor part, but um, I had a bit of a scheduling issue and was not able to make it work to audition for it because they shot that mostly in New Mexico, so which is where a lot of that takes place. So, but just an absolute who's who in the cast, um, including Michael Angarano, who I'm a huge fan of, and a lot of people may not know who that is, but when you see him, you'll be like, "Oh, that guy! He's always likable." But it
Yeah.
literally had so many names in Oppenheimer. Not that I won't see Barbie, but like I just don't. But I love um, Ryan Gosling. I think he's great. I like Margot Robbie. But I didn't grow up with Barbies, and
No,
aesthetically,
yeah.
it looks really impressive aesthetically. I just, visually, it looks great. I just don't. I have too many other films that like are kind of on the list, so we're gonna avoid any of the drama that's going in there. Are there any normal Hollywood actors? It's a great question. Maybe we'll
Well,
have to answer that one next time. Sorry, I'm kind of just going through some of these comments, and you guys are getting wild in these comments. Come on, what's going on? Can we all just get along here?
Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah, Jeepers Creepers is one of those films that I initially I liked it, um, but once you, it's weird. It's one of those films that's tainted. It's very tainted, right? Because of the director, Victor Salva, being a convicted pedophile, which is crazy when you think about it because he did that on Clown House back in like the late 80s. And then he went on to make a film for Disney, Powder, after he got out of prison. And then, obviously went on to Jeepers Creepers 1, 2. I think he did, can't remember if he did 3 or if they took that away from him. I know that he had no involvement at all with the most recent Jeepers Creepers, which was unwatchable.
I've heard that's bad.
Unwatchable, right?
I've watched the first 3, but I haven't watched the latest one. But I've heard it's terrible.
I didn't even like part 3. I thought that was like,
a bit boring. It was a bit boring.
Yeah,
Had its moments, but number 1 and 2 are good films.
1 has a lot of really good stuff in it. I feel that he took a lot from an early Spielberg film called Duel.
Oh yeah. Love that movie.
Yeah. And then later on, you'd have Joyride with the late great Paul Walker and Steve Zahn and Lily Sobieski, which I think that and
Rusty Nail.
Yeah, God, what's his name? God, he played Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, great actor. He was in Monk and Wonderland. He's in a lot of things, but yeah, I think like even like Joyride, borrowed a lot from Duel. And The Hitcher. I mean, The Hitcher borrowed a lot from Duel. Like if a lot of people aren't familiar with Duel, check that out. That's an early Spielberg. It's pretty badass.
You know what's the best thing about that movie? You never know who the truck driver is. You never see him.
You talking about Joyride?
No, Joe.
Duel. Yeah. No. Okay. But that's part of that genius of Spielberg. You know what I mean? Where it's just like I think that's such a great touch, like especially in like today where horror villains or they become icons and um studios just want to like smother them all over the place and it becomes so much, right? Whereas it's more so about less is more. I always kind of go back to the recent Halloween films where you're literally seeing Michael Myers do everything except take a dump. Um, I mean, walking down the street, big panning shot, walking down the street, turning, looking at this lady in her kitchen, walking down the driveway into the lady's kitchen. She goes out of frame. He walks into her kitchen. He grabs the knife. Oh, he kills. Where's the suspense in that? It's fucking bullshit, right? Like, would we have cared or been so affected by Jaws had we seen these long shots of the shark, water going underwater, looking around? No, I'm gonna maybe terrorize this school of fish. No, I'm gonna eat some of these seals. No, maybe not. I'm just going around. Oh, there's the boat. I'm gonna go up and terrorize the boat. Like, I mean, it's just it's so stupid. Like, less is more, right? Less is more. See Hellraiser 4 and why that fell to shit. We're at 90 minutes. We could talk on and on and on and on and on and continue on because we are indeed marks for this stuff. We get on tangents and we kind of get off the rails a little bit. So that's right, Rex. Less is more. Unless you're
it's why we do one podcast a month.
Yeah. Less is more unless you are wrestling on Wednesday nights. I agree. People Under the Stairs, very underrated. I agree with you there. Forgotten MMA, great call. What was that gimp's name? Roach, I think.
Yeah, he was in the. He's got like a TikTok, and
he
talks
really?
about and he's been in a couple. He's one of them actors. He's come up in like films, like random films. Like he was in like Twister, and and he says and he kind of like it's a good TikTok channel. He says the life of like just a regular actor, because he's not a big massive star or anything like that, but he's had these odd few moments. And he was telling stories like how this one actress met her and she was so great to me because we'd done one movie and she became a bigger actress and she became a kind of a producer and she got me this role. It turned out it was like Drew Barrymore. And and it's nice hearing these stories, like how he says, I'm very fortunate to get like certain roles and stuff like that.
Oh, damn. It's set in what? It's set in... Say it again. It was set in Rose.
Never mind.
Oh, I was like, what is...
You stop reading the fucking comments.
Well, I heard you. I agree. I heard you. I want to appease the listeners here. So I'm trying to...
You're talking to
me. Thank you, Chronic X owned. Well, I think that's how you pronounce it. Chronic XWND, Ted Levine. Yes, thank you. That's who I was trying to think of. Plays Rusty Nail. And he's also the villain in Nowhere to Run, Jean-Claude Van Damme early studio hit.
That gets hated on. I love that film.
With Rosanna Arquette and Kieran Culkin.
She is hot in that.
Favorite Stephen King movies. Someone had mentioned Maximum Overdrive. Also, I think having some influence from Duel. That was Stephen King's, I think, directorial debut. He was coked out of his mind, didn't know how to make a movie. So that gets denounced a lot of times. I think it's really good and a lot of fun. I love Emilio Estevez. And Pat Hingle is in that as well. For those of you who like Commissioner Gordon from the Michael Keaton Batman movies. But Stephen King movies, I'm always going to go with Silver Bullet or It, the TV miniseries. Yeah. Do you have a favorite Stephen King film?
Yeah, but officially it's not a Stephen King movie.
Okay.
Because when he wrote the book, he wrote it under a pseudonym.
Which one?
So he wrote a book, but he wrote it underneath a pseudonym. And
Oh,
it's actually my favorite Stephen King movie, but no one knows it's a Stephen. In fact, the movie's based off a Stephen King book because he used a pseudonym. You'll never guess it. I'll give you
so
some
no,
hints.
no book.
I'll give you some hints. Okay, 80s. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, Running Man.
Yes.
Yeah, I heard that. I remember. I didn't know that it was done under a pseudonym.
Yeah, it was a. It's a same sort of principle, but like the movie's different to the book. But then again, I watched a movie recently with not Chris Hemsworth, but his brother
Liam,
Liam,
I'll be
and
send up two fame
yeah, and
for coffee.
and a lot of the script reminds me of the original Running Man book. Like it takes a lot from it, because the original Running Man book, he's allowed to travel America, so
Okay. But
he's gone on.
he's not in Bakersfield because it's like in the movie it's Bakersfield, right? Is that not how it is in the book?
I forgot if it's in Bakersfield, but he's literally traveling the country to get away from like the runners.
Ah,
But and I think it's the runners, but I forgot if it's just the runners or there's like the public can kill them as well. I
that's
forgot.
crazy. Like a
Yeah,
mom.
and I forgot what it was exactly, but that's how it is. But someone saw it and adapted it into the Running Man movie, which for Running Man movies probably in my top three Arnie movies.
Same here. And soundtrack.
Yeah.
That Running Man theme is
What's
so
it go
good.
again?
Da-na-na-na-na,
Oh yeah,
da-na-na-na-na.
but there's the Power 80s song at the end as well. Uh, top three Arnie movies. I mean, Terminator 2. You can put T2 T1 together. Predator, then Running
Terminator
Man.
Genesis. I'm kidding. Um, I didn't see any of the Terminators after
I have.
Salvation. I liked
I have.
Terminator Salvation too. I really liked it. A lot of people crapped on it, but
Yeah.
um, I did not like Terminator 3. Top three Arnie movies. Obviously, you have to go with like Predator. I think Running Man. See, Arnold is like you almost have to break it up where you're like Arnie action, Arnie comedy. Right?
Yeah, that's a good because
Tough. You can't just limit it to three, man. That's really tough.
now
Because
because
then you look
he's
like Twins. Twins is like such a different thing for him. You know,
it's kind of like because it's Twins 80s or 90s. I like to believe
it's
it's
80.
is it
Yeah,
late 80s
I believe
because
so.
it did come to that point where he started doing Twins. He started doing Kindergarten Cop and
Which
movies
is
like.
also a big hit
Hey man, me and my family, we fucking love Jingle All the Way. Fucking
all
love
the
that
way.
movie.
Last Action Hero, which kind of delves
Oh
more into
yes,
like
yes,
uh, kid-friendly action, right?
that's a great movie. The fucking what's the name of the fucking serial killer in it? Because he was scary as a kid.
Oh man, I don't remember.
But you know
That
who I
wasn't.
mean, don't you? With the axe.
Yeah, that wasn't. It was. I can't remember. That wasn't one of the ones that I would like gravitate towards. I'm like, oh my god, I love this. I mean, Commando. You're talking like action, like Commando. But like,
True Lies is good. True
and then you
Lies is
break it
good.
up into True Lies is awesome. Then you break it up into like fantasy, right? Just so you can get like both Conan movies in there.
Total Recall.
Um, Total Recall, yeah. Like, I mean, you literally have to break Arnie up into like genre, because then you can put Terminator in there with sci-fi, right? Total Recall. Um, I didn't see what was the demonic one that he did.
End of Days. That's pretty good. Yeah,
End
man,
of
that's pretty
Days.
good. Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't see it.
that was enjoyable.
I didn't see it.
He
God,
basically has to save the descendant of Christ from getting raped by the devil, basically.
here we
Uh,
go. Love it. Yeah, and as Forgotten MMA is a big fan of End of Days. Apparently, I didn't see it. I like. Is it Elias Koteas? I think. No, maybe I'm thinking of.
I think Robin Tooney's in it.
Yeah, yeah,
Robin
yeah,
Tunney.
yeah, yeah. That's right. That's right.
I'm pretty sure it's Robin
Uh,
Tunney.
let's see. I'm trying to think. Broken Ascendancy also is a fan of End of Days. Junior, that was another one of the comedies that Arnie did. I did not see the Total Recall remake with Harold from Harold and Kumar.
It's not good.
Uh, yeah, I heard it was not good. Ricky Bobby 420 is talking about Candyman. Yes, the original Candyman, great film. The remake, not so much. Did not like the remake at all. And
Yeah.
the thing that also bothered me in the remake was that if I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure there's a mention of Clive Barker in the credits in terms of like inspired by Clive Barker. There certainly isn't any mention of him in the special features on the DVD that I rented, where I'm sitting here thinking, like, how are you not mentioning Clive Barker when you're talking about
Yep.
fucking Candyman? Jesus Christ.
I like number one. I like number two.
Yeah, it gets choppy after part two, right?
Yeah, they done number three. The only good thing about the remake was that Tony Todd was in it for like 2 seconds.
I agree. Like at the very end, there we gave you guys that bit of knowledge. So I mean, you can watch the Candyman remake. I thought the main guy was like really, really good. I just thought that the story didn't make much sense, and it just was.
Did it have a theme song?
No. It really
the theme song. I mean, it's like
yeah. The theme song's great.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Rex is asking if you prefer Terminator 1 or 2. I'm pretty sure I know your answer.
Number 2 is my favorite, but I love number 1 as well because number 1's more of a horror.
It is. And you get that nice Bill Paxton cameo at the beginning with Brian Thompson at the Griffith Park Observatory.
Oh, they'll tell you, my eldest...
Laundry Day.
My eldest watched Terminator 2 for the first time about a week or two ago. It's the first time he ever watched it.
Did you like it?
He loved it. He's like, this is the greatest movie.
Stunt work around, right? Like the stunts that they did. There's a documentary, I think, on YouTube that kind of chronicles the stunt work and like all the action that went into making Terminator 2. The thing I also liked about Terminator 2, obviously you had Edward Furlong and his kind of debut breakout there. But his friend, the little ginger bastard, I don't think y'all had this show in England. I would be shocked if y'all did. But he was one of the stars of a very popular Nickelodeon kids show called Salute Your Shorts.
Yep.
And I'm trying to remember what his shoot name is. But either which way, that was neat to see him because I think it was Bobby Budnick was his character in Salute Your Shorts, but he was kind of a troublemaker, instigator kind of kid of these child counselors at like a summer camp or something. But that's where that's where I first saw that kid, and then I see him pop up in Terminator 2 as John Connor's buddy and hops on the back of the motorcycle with him. I was like, oh my god, Bobby Budnick. He got, this is like between seasons, I guess, when camps
Robert Patrick is the T-1000.
Amazing. I also love the Jeanette Goldstein bit in there where she's the stepmom.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Wolfie's fine, honey. Just come on home or something. And then like it pans out and her arm is like a giant metal blade and it's like going through the dad's milk carton, like into his head, and it's like piercing him up against the wall. It's like, it's such a great scene. I love Jeanette Goldstein.
One of my favorite scenes is when, and my boys was pissing themselves laughing when they was watching it, when John Connor realizes that, the Terminator has to listen to what he says. So you can't kill anyone. Why? Because you can't.
Yeah. It's pretty funny.
they go to break into the mental hospital. So you got the old security guard. You can't come here. He pulls the gun out, shoots out his kneecaps. You said you wasn't going to kill anyone. He'll live.
Yeah, he'll live. It's so good.
Oh, it's it's a great film, honestly. Like, and because this stuff, and I love showing my kids the movies I watch and seeing their reactions, like first time watching these movies, what's going to happen? Because they're fighting the T-1000. T-1000 it is pretty much unstoppable in that movie.
Yeah.
And they're watching like, how are they going to beat them? Like, they can't stop. And then they, at the end, and my son actually made a suggestion halfway through the film. They said they could chuck him in lava. And I'm like, how's he? I'm like, there's no volcanoes here. He was like, oh yeah. But that's kind of what they do, don't they? They melt him
Yeah,
in like
yeah,
the fucking,
those them on like the
yeah.
chain and stuff into like the either at some industrial warehouse or something, some sort of factory.
But yeah,
Uh,
they loved it.
guys, there's no reason to talk nonsense to each other in the chat rooms. Like, you're never gonna meet each other and do anything about it. So like, just don't be a jerk off. That's not the point of the chats. We're trying to get to as many of these comments as possible. I know that we're running over what we usually like to get in about 90 minutes or so. But let's see here. We will eventually get to a thing where we'll make some recommendations to you all. We try to do that as we're talking about films here. So Heel Gil, we appreciate that comment. We'll continue to make recommendations. I think we've made a few here. For me, I would say check out Pearl if you haven't seen Pearl. It's really, I was extremely impressed. Speaking of Stephen King, real quick, and then we'll start to wrap up. But I'm kind of just going through some of these comments. Let's see here. This is The Shining. I agree. Stephen King was not a fan of that movie, but I thought it was spectacular. Absolutely loved it. I think Jack Nicholson that's to me one of my absolute favorite Jack Nicholson films. And there's some great behind the scenes footage of him getting into character right before a scene. Have you seen that documentary on like the making of The Shining, where it has a lot of the behind the scenes stuff? It was shot by
Shelley Duvall.
yeah, well, no,
So sorry for
shot,
that woman.
Yeah, she was great in Popeye.
Oh yeah, olive oil.
Yeah. She was also in this movie called Frog that I really loved growing up with the kid who was the star of Critters 1 and 2, Scott Grimes. This movie called Frog with Shelley Duvall. But what's his name? The director of The Shining.
Kubrick.
Yes, his wife, Stanley Kubrick's wife, had basically a video camera, and she documented a lot of the behind the scenes. So on YouTube, you can see a lot of this that Kubrick's wife shot. It's amazing because you're seeing, especially in like these classic days of these huge star actors in a way. It's kind of like magic, where like you're not supposed to ever like. It's kind of like, I wouldn't say it's frowned upon, but you kind of like, you don't ask, like, unless you're working with an actor. But even then, like, it's kind of one of those things where it's like you don't ask a magician like how he does his tricks. Similar with like actors, I guess it's probably not as held up today as it used to be back then, but I guess there was a point when maybe it was kind of frowned upon. It might still be. I don't know. I don't go into too much detail about how I prepare for stuff, because again, I feel, hey, keep kayfabe alive, right? But the reason I'm saying all that is because you're catching glimpses of Jack Nicholson right before they're about to shoot, and you see some of these things that he's doing to get into character. And as an actor, it's invaluable, because I'm watching this and I'm just like, oh my god, like I've been shown a technique similar to that, or I've seen something similar to that, or maybe I do something similar to that, or maybe I should try something like that. So I highly recommend checking out this footage on. I'm pretty sure you can see it on YouTube of Stanley Kubrick's wife that she shot of the making of Shining, because you see so much of this stuff, especially as it gets into those scenes when his character's going off the rails. So you see a lot of like what he's doing to like hype himself up, and it's really awesome. It's invaluable, like for an actor. So Brandon, if you're out there listening, check that out for sure.
If you got,
What do you see?
yeah, guys, right? I've seen you insulting each other in the chat. Honestly, sometimes I don't give a fuck, but the thing is, it can affect the channel.
Yeah, we're not.
So,
Don't affect. Don't. Fuck.
So just turn it down now, because you know I'm not scared to press the block button. So that's it now. Stop insulting each other, otherwise I will block you. Simple as that. So, and then you won't be able to do anything. But
I think we found our one. We found our one fan of Terminator 3, and I think that's Rex Gardner. I love Nick Stahl. Did not like Terminator 3, but if you dug it, I'd like to hear why. I thought it was interesting. The female character, right? Christina Loken, I think, played the female Terminator. I thought that was kind of fresh. I don't know. It just didn't resonate with me.
Yeah, she was in the Mortal Kombat Conquest series with Daniel Bernhardt.
Yes.
There's moments.
Charles Stephen Arnest is also a fan of Terminator 3, so that makes two of you. That's right. Somewhere Nick Stahl is smiling and not sure why. He's like, oh, someone did like it.
We'll take 2 more questions, and then that's us calling it a night before we hit the 2-hour mark.
I know, because we love this stuff, and we can talk about this constantly. Like, we absolutely love this stuff. So, thank you again for your subscription.
Thing now, isn't? I think this is what we're going to try and do now.
Yeah. In addition to the extra content that we're going to try and do and add to the channel, yes, we're going to try and do these live streams if we can, at least once a week. Charles is also asking, do I believe Charlie Sheen power banged Corey Feldman? No, I do not. I think that was Corey Feldman putting the blame on Charlie Sheen. If you think about it, film sets are like swarming with production people, and if you're a child, as Corey Haim was on Lucas, which is the film in question here, where Corey Feldman put the blame on Charlie Sheen, saying that that's who molested Corey Haim. I call bullshit, because especially as a child actor, you are literally taken from the set back to your trailer to be with your studio teacher. There's absolutely no way they're having a child wander around just aimlessly on a film set. It does not happen. I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but the chances are slim to like none. Plus, Charlie Sheen at the time was really ascending as a second, possibly third generation, definitely second generation star. Highly unlikely that he's going to risk his stardom to have sex with I believe, like 7 or 8 year old, 9-year-old Corey Haim. But if you're really curious about this whole thing, look up the name Dominic Brassia. He's since died, thankfully. But that is the pedophile in question here who messed around with Corey Haim and
he's Friday the 13th he was in, wasn't he?
Yeah, Friday the 13th. He plays the
mentally challenged,
fat, curly-headed guy who offers Vic the candy bar at the beginning, and then the candy bar gets cut. He insults Vic with the axe, and Vic chops him up. And it's kind of the whole reason Friday the 13th Part 5 storyline exists. But his name is Dominic Brassia, and I'm not a huge fan of reality TV. I thought that the Two Coreys was, for the most part, pretty silly, but I felt that there were threads of realism that got put in that to make it reality TV. But there's a scene in the diner where Corey Haim basically calls out Corey Feldman. He's like, you know who did that. You know who who molested me, and it's a friend of yours, and you know who I'm talking about, and you're still friends with them. So Corey Feldman was really good friends with Dominic Brassia. Make of that what you will, but that was him covering up for Dominic Brassia by putting the blame on Charlie Sheen. That's my whole theory on it, and if you do your research, you'll see that it really starts to make sense. Porter Blaze, he likes Kindergarten Cop, Predator, and Terminator 2. Those are comedy mixed with action and sci-fi, which is great. The Rock, going to be honest, a lot of his movies weren't great. I agree with you, Rex Gardner.
Yep.
I don't even get me started. We'll be here for another like 2 hours. Let's see here. Just kind of going through. Did we get any questions that we're pulling up? I'm trying to like see. I didn't see Raw Deal.
I think we just had people just insult people and insult each other in the chat all night.
Yes, please.
We've got
don't that.
We've got left-wing people calling right-wing people crazy. We've got right-wing people calling left-wing people crazy.
Go to the cafe if you guys want to do all that stuff. Don't bring that crap here. We're talking movies. We're talking actors. We're talking history.
Well, guys, I'll give you advice when it comes to politics. Okay, do not, and I mean do not, be on either wing. Just remain central. Observe both sides because you got nutcases on both sides.
That's true.
That just be centralist, okay? Or don't even just don't take any interest in it.
Yeah, all politicians are liars, okay? So don't bother. Don is asking if we've seen Megan. Did you see Megan?
I haven't seen Megan, but I have seen Phone Booth, and that was a very enjoyable movie.
How do you go from Megan to Phone Booth?
Well, it just caught my eye. Phone Booth, Colin Farrell.
Okay, but how do you go from Megan, which is basically a dull AI thing that just goes crazy and
just a Chucky ripoff, ain't it?
I'll go. I mean, I think it's a ripoff of Dolly Dearest. For those of you who Dolly Dearest was made in response to Chucky, right? It's kind of like, let's make a scary female for the girls. I believe also starring Rip Torn.
Yeah.
See how we do this? We bring it all back. It's like good improv where you stumble down the stairs and somehow land on your feet.
Who was the kid? The kid with the glasses. He was in it, and he's been in another film as well.
The kid with the glasses in Dolly Dearest.
Yeah, was he in Dream Warriors? If I got that wrong.
Are you looking up the cast? Because I can't do that.
Chad Demetral. Chris Dimitrov. Let's see. Chris play. I don't know. I don't think he's been in much. I must have got him mixed. Let's see. Dolly Dearest. He was in Step by Step, an episode of Step by Step. Lois and Clark. Yeah, he didn't really do much. But if you I remember that.
Yeah, check it out. I did not see Megan. I have no interest. I thought it was silly. Just in the trailer from like this fucking dance they tried to fucking make in some sort of TikTok bullshit. And it was silly. Her like crawling on all fours, coming after some kids. Like, just get out of here. I'm just not interested. Not for me. Let's see. So, can't take that movie serious. Is Rex not a fan of Chucky? What's going on? I mean, I'm a big fan of Child's Play 1, 2, and 3. Not so much a fan when it started to get comedic. I started to watch. Yeah, I started to watch the series because I'm a big fan of Devon Sawa, and I think he's really great. But yeah, just too much kind of hidden agenda stuff in the Child's Play series that I just kind of lost me. I didn't. Yeah. Yep. So.
Yeah, because it's a series still based off the original film timeline.
I believe so. I mean, they bring back Andy Barclay, and I think Jennifer Tilly.
Oh, do you know
Uh,
what's the messed up thing? I don't know if they're still dating, but the kid who played Andy Barclay ended up dating the girl in the series who's actually the guy who plays Chucky's daughter in real life. So you know
I'm
Brad
confused.
Dourif. You know Brad
So
Dourif.
Fiona Dourif.
Yeah, I think she actually dates the kid who plays Andy in real life.
Alex Vincent.
Yeah,
Good for him.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, I love
I thought,
Brad Dourif. We'll have to do a Brad Dourif introspective at some point because and talk about. See, like I said, you stumble down the stairs, you land on your feet. Circling back to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest,
yeah,
Brad Dourif.
yeah.
Um,
He's young in that movie,
I think
and Danny
he's
DeVito's in it.
nominated. He might have been nominated for that. Yeah, Danny DeVito as well. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he does not look
Um,
like Danny DeVito.
and yeah, exactly. Will Sampson as well from Poltergeist 1 and 2 played Big Chief. So many great characters and character actors in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but Brad Dourif in particular really stands out, and I think he was nominated for that. So, and the
You
guy
know,
in Batman Returns who turns the like music box thing and it turns into like a machine gun. Remember that? And he's like
yeah.
that guy. He's in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, right.
He's got like those kind of like sad eyes, and he has kind of a long face. I'm forgetting his name. Amazing character actor. Um, but yeah, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is
Yeah,
phenomenal.
them mental asylums, man, they're just crazy. Well, they're just
Bring them
scary,
back.
aren't they?
Bring them back. We need mental asylums. We please bring them back. There's too many crazy people on the street.
But don't you think we've evolved as a society, or do you reckon we just got a lot of crazy people?
Are you kidding? I saw someone mentioning Idiocracy in the comments, and is there a movie that was ahead of its time more than Idiocracy in relation to the current state of the country?
Yeah.
I mean, come
Oh,
on.
you know what's the funniest thing about that? Whether it's true or what, I don't know. Next time you watch it, have a look. So when they was designing like costumes and clothes and that, they said what type of shoe would like these people wear. So they went through all these different things, and they found this little startup like shoe company, and it's like these would be perfect. So if you know, and after this movie, this company went really big, Crocs.
Oh, I heard that.
Yeah,
Yes. Jesus. And worse is socks in Crocs. Like, oh God.
yeah.
Uh,
It's I've been saying that we are living in a South Park episode,
yeah, that's true.
big time.
Um,
It's
if
just
we have,
amazing, like
yeah,
the things.
it's
It's crazy. It really is.
one of the
I look,
smartest
I look at the, I look at the
shows.
world, and then I'm like, really?
I love those South Park guys. They bought Casa Bonita in Denver,
Yeah.
and this is something that I think is really pretty incredible. I think I read this somewhere, but I'm not sure how it is in England. But in America, if you're a waiter or waitress, you're making like $2 an hour because you're supposed to make
Yeah,
you're supposed to live off of your tips, right?
that's
Well,
fucked up.
I agree. I agree. See the opening scene of Reservoir Dogs for different takes
Yeah,
on this,
yeah.
which I think is a great scene. Oh my god! But
So,
so they
sorry to stop you,
go ahead.
but don't you have like minimum wage in the US?
Different states offer different minimum wage. Yeah.
So you telling me like minimum wage in certain states is like $2?
No,
Because
but
that's
that's
what
what
I'm
I
thinking.
don't know. I've never been a waiter or a wait. I've definitely never been a waitress.
Yeah.
But that's
You never know.
yeah.
It's 2023, man. The
Maybe
next phase
you
of for London's life.
Um, yeah, I don't know how that works in relation to minimum wage because I know that like nationally the minimum wage I believe is like $6 or $7 maybe.
Yeah, some people saying 7 in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 7 or something. But it's different per state. I know some states it's like 13. I think California it's like 15. Um, so I'm not exactly sure how they calculate a lot of that, but I think the minimum wage should be boosted up significantly across the board. But circling back to the South Park guys, so they bought Casa Bonita. They obviously are from the Denver area of Colorado. Grew up with this amazing restaurant. If you're not familiar with Casa Bonita, look it up. I've been there once with Brian when we were in Denver many years ago, and it was everything it was hyped up to be in the South Park episode. The food was terrible. There were people. There was a guy running around in a gorilla suit. There was uh, cliff cliff divers going into a pond, and this is all indoors in this restaurant. And you're watching this mayhem take place. You have a little flag at your dining table to raise that up and get more sopapillas. I mean, it was like extremely accurate to how Cartman uh, gushes over Casa Bonita in that episode. But the thing that's phenomenal is that since they bought Casa Bonita, they put out a thing where tips are not allowed because they're paying their wait staff $30 an hour.
Wow.
So that's pretty breakthrough, if you ask me. You know, that they're saying, you know, hey, like, you guys are the ones doing the brunt of the hard work here, and we're not going to allow people to stiff you. They're just not going to stiff at all because we're going to pay you so damn well. I mean, $30 an hour. That's now we're talking, right? So
9-hour shift, $270. Talk about $1,000 a week, like 5 days.
yeah, and you don't have to sit there and wonder like, oh, am I going to get a tip, or like how are tips going to be today and stuff? Because I think it's like, I can't remember how much it costs to go into Casa Bonita, but like it's essentially like, it was, at least, I don't know if they're changing it, but it was like cafeteria style food where you kind of like, it was like Mexican themed, and like it was I ate it all. It was decent. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, I can't finish this. But it definitely hits you later.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I'll
I've never actually been out for Mexican food, because that's the thing. When you got a family, you have to go to places where you know the kids is going to eat.
Yeah.
So it's one of the, so we tend to go to Nando's quite a lot because the
Oh my
boys love
god,
chicken.
I love Nando's. The peri peri, hot peri peri.
We was there the other day.
I love it. What's the mint peas? I think there's like a peas like side dish. It's like mint peas. It's so good. Whenever I'm in England, I try to get to Nando's as much as possible.
But I actually enjoy cooking myself though, because I cook like roast dinners and stuff like that. So I actually enjoy cooking. So I think I'm cooking this weekend actually.
Oh wow! Well, you got. Do you know what you're going to be making?
So because you don't have them in America. Like, America's so weird. Like, we have Sunday dinners, so Sunday roast. Yous have it once a year. You call it Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So we rather have like chicken, beef, pork, or lamb. My kids love lamb, so I'll cook like a roast lamb with like vegetables and, like, you know, roast potatoes, mashed potatoes, and Yorkshire puddings and stuff like that. So that's what you have on a Sunday in England or in the UK in general.
Now, you said Yorkshire pudding? Can you explain what that is?
Yorkshire, not Yorkshire. So Yorkshire pudding. The easiest way to explain it, it's like it's the same batter as, say, pancakes, but instead of cooking it flat, you put it in, like, so you know where you get like a tray to put your cakes in, like your you know, cake tray. So you basically you fill the trays up with you know, the batter, and it will just, when you stick it into the oven, it'll like expand and like go up, and there'll always be like a dip in it. So it's basically that's a Yorkshire pudding.
What is it? A gravy or?
No, Yorkshire pudding is just like pancake mix, like batter.
Yeah,
Really, that's all it is.
you're just dipping it. You're talking about.
Oh, so the dip is just like that's just how they turn out. So, but you can rip
You
it
don't mean like a
apart, eat
dipping
it.
sauce. You mean like a little groove, like a pit.
Yeah. But if you want, you can put stuff in there and eat it in one go. Or some people just likes eating them by themselves, or just getting them and dipping them in gravy. Because that's another thing as well. You used to call it like black gravy, don't you?
I mean, I don't think people call it black gravy, but there's
Well,
certainly different gravy.
because you used to have like white gravy, and that looks fucking weird to me.
It's I can't have it anymore, unfortunately. But it's sausage gravy, and it's so good. Like you don't know what you're missing. Especially if you get like biscuits and gravy, and you get like that pork sausage gravy. Oh my god! Don't even get me started. I'm starving as it is.
Well,
Um,
next time you come over here, okay, I'm gonna take you out for Sunday dinner, and if ever I make it to America, you're gonna have to show me what American cuisine is.
okay, I will do that. Hopefully, it's in. We can get some Texas barbecue. I can show you how
Oh
it's
yeah,
supposed to be done. Uh, we'll start wrapping up. I know it's really late over there,
yeah.
so um, we're really thankful, really grateful to everyone listening, everyone staying on board with us for the full 2 hours plus. You guys are really wonderful. You guys are the reason we figured this would be a fun thing to do and start the channel in the first place. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to just keep kind of expanding and doing different things with it. We will be getting some interviews. We will be doing some on location type stuff. We will continue to review films that we really love and enjoy. So, as always, feel free to leave comments. Hopefully, mostly good, or if they're bad, be kind and somewhat respectful if you can. But if you have an issue with anything,
Have you seen
explain
our
why.
chat tonight? Respectful. Have you seen
Yeah,
them tonight?
Jesus Christ, I don't even know what the hell that all started from. Who knows? But watch what you dig. Watch what resonates with you. Don't let people tell you what to see and what isn't good and insult you for liking stuff that maybe other people don't like. Like gravitate towards what you dig. Like it's simple as that. And the same can be said, I guess, politically too. Like we're not trying to tell you guys what to do politically. Like I personally, I just don't get involved. Mostly, like it's not my thing. Um, but to each their own. You know what I mean? So uh, just try to be decent. At least just try to be decent to each other. Like, come on. I mean, the world is a crazy place as it is. So, um, what do you do if you're just a part of the negativity and a part of the overall problem, right? So, awareness is key, and that's my Springer send off for the episode.
I thought we was gonna hear some Michael Jackson in the background. We are the world. We are the children.
Yeah, I
Oh
couldn't
man,
see it at the time.
before we leave, I watched part one of that Leaving Neverland documentary that was out a few years ago.
Oh, I need to check that out still. I think I started it and then I never got
Oh
through it.
man,
But
I I I just hope it's not true because I love Michael Jackson. For fuck,
yeah,
the only thing I can say before we go, it's rather the parents knew what was happening and they pushed the kids to do it, or they was just completely like fucking morons who was oblivious to it. But they would have to be fucking stupid. You know what I mean?
a lot of dumb parents out there. A lot of people who shouldn't be parents.
That is true.
Yeah. So try to be a good parent if you have
Yeah,
kids.
yeah.
Even if you're a good parent, be a good role model if you can, and set good examples. So
Cool.
we will go
Well,
with that.
everyone, thanks again. Hit the like button before you go, and yeah, we'll be back again next week. We're going to be weekly now.
Absolutely. Stay tuned, and thank y'all so much for the breaking point of 1,000. Couldn't do it without y'all. Be good to each other, and we'll see y'all next week. Thank you, James. Appreciate it, brother.
Cool. See you soon.
Later.